Hi, welcome to Meet the Artist. This program is brought to you by Hedberg Public Library and JATV Media Services. I'm your host, Teresa Nguyen. Meet the Artist features various local artists whose work will be on display in monthly exhibits at Hedberg Public Library. In the studio today, we have one of our most well-known Janesville artists, Jim Richter, who is one of our featured artists for the month of November. Welcome to the studio, Jim.
Why, thank you. Thanks for the invite. Good afternoon, Tess.
Good afternoon. This is an honor. So let's talk about James Richter, the artist's art evolution, going way back to who first noticed your work, or your skills, I should say.
Yes, well, actually the earliest memories of being kind of recognized was at St. William's School, obviously enough, because in third grade I had drawn the three wise men and Jesus, only I did it in like perfect three-point perspective or full-on view, and they weren't used to that. You know, most kids would draw straight on or profile. So they said, well, and I had to do it on a blueprint paper because, you know, that's,
Okay,
you know,
that's what you had.
But they were so impressed with it, they sent it home to my mom and said, make sure that he, you know, you encourage him in this endeavor because he seems to have a natural talent. So
That's so cool.
yeah, it was kind of a, I kept it for a long while. The blueprint eventually disintegrated, but I should have taken images of it because I just kind of liked it. It was kind of random.
That must have felt really good to know that your teachers saw something in you, and that your mom then embraced that idea to encourage you.
Yes, and it did because I was not good at much of anything else. So
Well, we each have our strengths
yes,
and our weaknesses.
you have to find your talent and then run with it. And everyone does have a talent. And
That's
you know,
right.
All children, of course, are artists, so you know that goes without saying. But my mom was also a kind of talented artist, and
Okay.
she would sit and draw beautiful horses at the kitchen table and encourage us to draw them too.
Do you have any of those still?
I do have some of my mom's, actually. Yeah, it's amazing.
That's wonderful.
They've got to probably be, I don't know, 70 years of age, and they still survive. But I'm kind of the you know, kind of family. I save all I'm a hoarder, you know. I have
So after
stuff.
this, the three wise men, and you're in elementary school, I'm sure by the time you got to high school, your skills had just blossomed. Do you remember a piece back in high school that was kind of a favorite of yours?
Yeah. By then, I was into Salvador Dali, surrealism. Every high schooler is full of angst, you know. So I look back at them. I'll put them on my website. I have a lot of paintings left from those eras, and they're all strange. Matter of fact, one did exist in the Parker teacher's lunchroom, and still there.
Oh, wow.
Somebody kind of damaged it, so I have to kind of fix it. But it had hung there now for 50 years. So,
Wow.
but then I received a START scholarship from Parker,
Okay.
and that was to give students to go to, for lack of a better word, like a trade school. I
Sure.
wasn't going on to a university, although I did attend a little bit of UW Milwaukee.
Okay.
But so it was like a $500 START scholarship, and you know, to me, that might have been $5 million. I was like,
Right.
oh, I'm going to be a professional artist, and little did I know how hard that is. But yeah, it
Right.
was very encouraging.
Yeah, that's really cool. So you went on then to art school, or to get an art degree, did you?
Yeah, I used that scholarship to go to Layton School of Art in Milwaukee.
Okay.
And they, oddly enough, transitioned after my freshman year to what became MIAD, Milwaukee Institute of Art and Design. The problem was they had to wait a year for credentials for me to
Sure.
be accepted. Anyone, you know, as they switched schools. So being young and restless, I ended up in Florida and finished my education at Ringland School of Art and Design in Sarasota.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And you learned a lot along the way and probably explored a lot of mediums. So do you have a particular favorite medium to use?
Yeah, I'm an oil painter, basically. If we talk a little about my mural work, obviously that's all acrylic work. Gouache, I enjoy working on gouache. Matter of fact, I'm working on a sketch right now for a potential mural, and I'll do those in gouache because it's an opaque watercolor, basically.
Okay.
So you can get bright colors, and, you know.
So you explore different...
Yeah, I've done some sculpture. Was up in Sparta, Wisconsin at Fast Corporation. Fiberglass animals, sculptures,
Wow.
and trademarks. They did Bessie the cow here like 40 years ago. So they did mammoth scale
Sure.
fiberglass. And I kind of fibbed a little bit about my sculpting ability. I just said I could. And I got hired there a couple times, a couple summers. I'd go up there and spend 3 months and carve 30-foot arms and just out of foam, and then
Sure.
they fiberglass it.
Sure.
So yeah, as a painter, it's good to kind of be in three-dimensional mode of mind sometimes. But
Right.
yeah, so.
You've explored a lot of art, so that kind of helped your mind to visualize different things
Yeah.
in your own work.
Yeah.
So then, do you have a certain artist that you look up to, or is there someone famous or someone you know who's inspired you?
That's really hard to say. I have many favorites and influences.
Sure.
I actually liked art history in art school, so
Okay.
I was one of the few people that looked forward to going to art history courses because, of all the Caravaggios, chiaroscuro, light to dark, studying all that. But I also, reminds me of a story. While I was at Ringland, I was a studio assistant to Jimmy Ernst, and he is the son of Max Ernst, the famous German surrealist, who was a contemporary of Salvador Dali, who I said earlier. So when I was reading the bulletin board at school, it said, Jimmy Ernst is looking for somebody to help with his studio. And I was like, what? So I applied and went down to his studio and he said, you're hired. So all I did was arrange his paint tubes on the table. And that was it.
But, I love that spirit in you where you're just going to go for it. And you try it. It could be a risk, but you're going to take it and see what happens. And look what's happened. You've worked with some great artists. You've done some unique kinds of things, like with the sculptures. And more recently, you've been a muralist in our community. Yeah. So tell me about your first mural, because to me, I don't even compare, but as an artist, when I decided I was going to paint my son's wall, it just seemed really big to me. Like, this is a huge undertaking. Did you feel that way the first time, or were you like, oh yeah, I got this?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that trepidation is not a good thing in an artist, especially when you're young. You can't be afraid, really. If you hesitate, you're lost, kind of thing. So in art school, I kind of earned money on the bulletin board. I would paint murals in condominiums. I would paint black Angus cows, 20-foot on Highway 41 going through Sarasota, which are all now high-rise skyscrapers. But anyways, so yeah, I was never really kind of afraid to work large or whatever it took. I was into pointillism for quite a while too.
Oh, yeah.
I look at them now and it strains my eyes thinking how long it would take to do such a thing.
Right.
So,
but you do have a skill like this where, and I've seen in some of your other paintings where if you were to stand up close to it, it's a little hard to see the whole picture. And as you step back 5 feet, 10 feet, it's like, wow. But to be able to do that is a skill in and of itself, to be so close to it, kind of like pointillism, where you're just working with little areas. And to the average person, that's amazing.
Well, I think Impressionism was that same thing you're talking about, is the dogma of centuries of lined, beautiful, detailed work, and they came along and said, well, we're going to make everything blurry, and you're going to blend those colors with your eyes and your brain instead of your visual, actual.
They turned art on its head.
Right, yeah. And that kind of leads me to another answer of how that would be. When I was at Ringland, they had a interior design department, a fine arts department, and a graphic design illustration. So I got my certificate, graduated with as an illustrator, graphic designer. So I always never did the same subject matter over and over, because I always liked the challenge of doing something as a challenge. I mean, I like water subjects, I like neon now, but so I guess the point was, it's my work's all over as subject matter. You know, I just.
And your first Janesville mural was where?
The mural that never was. It was, I won a competition for the mall at JCPenney in 1974.
Shortly after it was built, because that was 72.
Yeah. And I was back from Layton School of Art after my first year. Well, I won the competition, and I started, and it was huge. But what it was going to be a wall that was kind of hiding the construction going on.
Okay.
So it wasn't meant to ever be there permanently.
Sure.
But it was a big project, and I got started on it, and unfortunately my sister ran a kiosk in there, and that broke some rule as of you can't be related to anybody working there. So that was the end of that.
Oh.
But that was the first mural I've ever done.
Okay.
Yeah, as far
And
as...
then what was after that? Tell us about some of your...
Well, I think in 2016, my painting here of the Janesville icons, it had been a while since GM had left, and my family worked there, my brother, my dad.
Okay.
What brought us to Janesville. And so I thought it was time to pay homage. And so, you know, it was kind of like a ghost. Nobody would talk about the plant. Nobody would, you know, half the people, younger people, for good reason, never really knew about it. But that was such a big part of Janesville's history. So I found a wall that I really liked. It took a long while to get the owner identified, to get them to okay it. Bob Clapper then sponsored it, paid for the wall. And again, that was 2016. And I started it in October. I have a bad track record of starting stuff, and snow is flying by the time it ends.
You do. You've started things in the fall.
Not always by my own choice, but yeah, it seems to be snowing every time I try to finish a mural, and that's not good.
Well,
that's not fun.
It's spectacular, and I do love that you captured this piece of Janesville history in art in such a huge way and in a beautiful way, right there on High Street. Right?
Yes, yep, High in Milwaukee.
And it's actually a flat wall. This is a fisheye photograph.
This is a Pat Sparling photograph, by the way. I should give him credit, because there was like a telephone pole in the middle of it. He got rid of that. But
it's great.
I hope to do another one a block or two away of trucks this time. And I'm hoping to do that next spring. I'm working on it now.
Fantastic.
Trying to identify the walls. I mean, I have two walls, but one of the owner lives in Edgerton, and the other one is, it's difficult for people to commit to. They think there's a catch, like, you know, I don't know if I want this, especially back in 2016, because nobody had ever done it. Like, what are you going to do to my wall? You know, this is my building. You know, it's like, well, it's not going to cost. It'll be beautiful when it's done. You just have to trust me.
Right, trust is what it's about. And you have the iconic Janesville mural in Doty Alley. You have done the looking up with the young woman looking at the balloons going up, which is right next to Farmers Market.
Right.
And another one near Farmers Market, which is on the Boys and Girls Club, or what was the Boys and Girls Club wall at the YMCA.
Yes.
Right, at the Bright Futures, I believe it's called.
Yeah.
And it's just beautiful. You're leaving a legacy here in Janesville with all of your wonderful art too. You brought some pieces in. I want to talk about these. You talked about neon, so let's go to this
Okay.
What's it about?
Well, this is sold to a couple in Fond du Lac,
Okay.
Darcy and Paul. I want to thank them. They're coming to pick it up soon. Oddly enough, Paul's family has a person in the family named Blatz as the last name, and so it's kind of odd. But that's an actual mural up in some alley in Madison. I take photos of these when I see, especially working ones. I've done the Cozy Inn at least a dozen times.
Neon signs.
Neon signs.
It's
I was going to
great.
start a club called SOS, Save Our Signs, because ACE is always maintained, but the YMCA, they totally redid, so they got that working again. And then, of course, when the Cozy Inn got that grant, I was like, amen, because these neons are expensive. Anyways, so that's done. I just brought it as an example, and they're going to pick it up when they come from Fond du Lac, which is great. The longer it can sit at my house, the better, because I need to varnish it with a Damar varnish.
Okay.
And that'll protect it for decades and adds a nice even matte sheen to it.
I love your color choices in this, and how it all blends so beautifully, especially these blues that you've,
Yeah, it's kind of a complementary color
Dappled
scheme going on there.
throughout. Yeah,
Kind of
I love
orange
it.
and blue.
Right. And tell us about this. What inspired you to paint this gorgeous garden scene?
Well, this is from my garden.
From your garden?
Yeah, my home I call a muse I can use. And so I go out, and the coleus had a little impatient popping through, a busy Lizzie, I guess they call them in England. And I was at the Tallman house with this, and some woman came up and said, I love coleus. And I said, well, I do too, because that's why I put the heart in there.
Oh,
But
look at
it
that.
had to be sneaky. It couldn't be
Look
like,
at that.
it was obscure.
So great.
Probably didn't need to get up and point that out, but it's just to me funny, because when she said, I love coleus, I'm like, so do I, and that's why this. And she goes, oh.
Aw. No,
So-
I'm glad you pointed that out, because everyone sees something else and something different, and you see something in your own.
Yeah,
eye.
I don't like just necessarily still lifes a lot, but it kind of is a still life. But to the left, I just use the color to, bring interest to the right.
It feels like sunshine coming
Yeah,
into the
nice.
garden.
Well, that's interesting. And that's going to be in Madison, UW Hospitals. It got accepted through the Wisconsin Visual Artists
Nice.
group, which I'm a member of.
Okay.
Along with this one. These two are going to
Yeah,
be there.
let's see
But this one's in progress, as they say.
Okay. And tell us about the.
Well,
what you-
that again comes from my garden. I call it Sunburst, and it's, I would say, 75% done. And so I'm going
Beautiful.
to mostly put yellows and bright colors in the background, sign it, and get it done. Because
love it.
these have to be taken up to Madison in
Sure.
September 28th. Then, if they don't sell there, they'll be back in the library on the west wall.
All right.
So these two will be part of the, I think I probably have at least 10, 12 spaces for, hope to do new work. Again, another Cozy Inn, neon, local scenes for the,
Sure.
library.
Wow, great. So, Jim, a lot of people look up to you as an artist, and I know the young viewers out there have seen your mural work, if not your other exhibits with the Art League, and probably wondering, like, gosh, how would I even begin? And do you have some tips you could give to a young aspiring artist?
Well, first, thanks for saying that. I don't ever
True.
really think of that myself that way, but I would just basically encourage output. Again, it's a cliche, but for every, 10 pieces you do, there's going to be 4 that are really good, and the other 6 are, But the thing is, you have to do it, and again, trepidation. Don't be scared. I look at painting as fixing mistakes. I mean, you don't know what something's going to look like until you get it together, say color schemes. The eye can play, So basically, take your time and do as much as you can and have a passion for it. Try to
Right.
be, somewhat engaged and serious about it. Don't ever compare yourself with anyone else, and don't ever take critical information as something to dissuade you from doing something. Try to be,
Right.
proactively.
That's important, both of those points, because we do tend to compare with each other.
Right.
And art is certainly subjective. It's unique to each individual. And what one person creates is no less significant or beautiful than this other person, but the styles might be entirely different.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
so that's what's really fun about going to the Art League exhibits and walking around and seeing that. And the more you do that, the more you start to realize that, like, wow, art comes in many forms and colors and shapes, and they're
Yeah.
all so unique.
And
And
that's what the humanity of art is
Right.
about. All musicians, all
Yeah.
painters, all any arts,
Mm-hmm.
any of the arts, dance. It's really to help yourself. I mean, to me, it's therapeutic.
It
And
is.
it should be. But again, the worst thing is, again, I mentioned Caravaggio earlier. Well, when you're a 21-year-old and you're looking at these paintings and you're thinking, well, I'm going to try to replicate this. It'll never happen. I'm going to quit, I'm going to move to Florida Keys and catch fish, which I did. But
But you've
anyways.
developed your own Jim Richter style, and I could go through the Art League and never see your signature and say, "That's a Richter,"
Well, that's great.
and
thank
that's
you.
cool, because
Thank
I
you,
think
yeah.
you've developed something that's uniquely you. And
Thanks.
so, when you chose pieces for Hedberg, was that difficult to do, or you're still working on?
Yeah, I'm starting to. I haven't started some of them. I still have 6 weeks, so I'm gonna probably hope to have at least 3 new ones. But again, 10 paintings, and every one 4 of them are good. Those other 6 are still around my house. Now I might have them there. Not that they're less than good. It's just that I would have no problem filling the entire library. I mean, but
So-
I want to have my best stuff and newer stuff.
Are you? That's what I was going to ask
Yeah,
you. Are
I-
you focusing on a certain type of painting?
Yeah. Again, local. I'd like to do some of the neons. Again, the Y, the cozy, and I've got landscape. I like doing landscapes, by the way, because number one, there's no stress at all. Neon, you have to actually concentrate.
Right. There's a lot.
I
of-
mean, you should if you want to
Geometric
paint
shapes
if you want to
in
paint that way, but you don't have to. You can, just splotch it onto it. But landscapes are completely free range. You cannot mess up a landscape. It's just fun.
That's great advice too.
Well, again, if you do mess it up, fix it. You're always fixing mistakes. Nothing comes out like. Although I shouldn't say that. Some people paint with the expressionism, and it's as valid as anything, just to express, And I enjoy abstract work.
Right.
It's just for myself. I'll leave that to other people, and I can enjoy it. People come up and go like, "What do you think of that? A kid could do it." I'm like, "No, a kid could do it, and kids do it." But again, it's a form of expression for the human doing it.
Right.
It doesn't need to be what you like.
Mm-hmm.
Again, don't try to compete with people. Just be yourself and
I love that.
see what happens.
That's great advice. Are you excited for this, Jim?
Yes, sure, certainly. It's a great thing to have a space in the hometown.
Well,
Kind of dedicated.
we're very excited
few.
too. You
Well,
you
thank you.
have to come see Jim Richter's display. Thanks for letting us get a sneak peek at who you are, and learn more about your art background and your techniques and what you love to do
Thanks for having me.
and experiences. You're welcome. And we invite the public to come visit Hedberg Public Library this month to check out Jim Richter's exhibit. And if you'd like to learn more about Jim's beautiful artwork, you can visit the Janesville Art League exhibits, tour the murals of Janesville, and you can find Jim Richter's information here displayed on your screen. Thank you all for joining me today. Please check out this program on JATV Media Services. Spectrum Cable Channel 994. You can also find it on JATV's YouTube channel. Remember, don't wait for another day. Go out and make some wild, whimsical, wonderful art. I'm your host, Teresa Nguyen. I'll see you next time on Meet the Artist.